Tonight, our special coverage on Israel's war on Palestine as Israel's normalization efforts in the Middle East come under scrutiny. Assalamu alaikum and good evening. This is Muslim News Canada on Muslim Network TV. I'm Zahra Sayed. Today is the 27th day since Israel started bombing Palestinians indiscriminately. Gaza officials are reporting multiple casualties after an Israeli strike hit an ambulance convoy near Al-Shifa Hospital. The Palestine Red Crescent has shared distressing footage of the ambulance attack. The convoy was hit at the gate of the hospital after transporting critically wounded individuals. A director at a Gaza City hospital has issued an urgent plea for assistance. He says there is a critical shortage of medical equipment and the imminent threat of power failure. He says the fuel blockade can have catastrophic consequences for the already strained healthcare system. In a separate incident, at least 14 Palestinians, including children, have been killed while attempting to flee south along Gaza's coastal road. Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah has spoken publicly for the first time since the onset of the conflict. He is calling Israel's war an unattainable goal. Analysts say Nasrallah's recent speech shows the gravity of the situation. An expert from Doha Institute says it is important to monitor developments both in Gaza and Lebanon. He says these factors could dictate Hezbollah's level of engagement in the conflict. The situation for Palestinians in the region is worsening. Approximately 3,000 individuals who were working in Israel have been forced to return to Gaza. There are reports of thousands missing, following a wave of mass arrests. The United Nations' aid chief, Martin Griffiths, says there is some progress in negotiations to allow fuel into Gaza. At least 9 Palestinians have been killed in Israeli raids across the occupied West Bank, including 5 in Jenin. Despite mounting international pressure for a ceasefire, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has rejected the idea. He says there will be no temporary halt to the conflict. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, during his visit to Israel, says Israel has a right to self-defense. He says Israel should also safeguard civilian lives. At the time of writing, the death toll in Gaza has risen to a staggering 9,227. 3,700 Palestinian children have also been killed by Israeli strikes. More than 1,400 lives have been lost in Israel. Bahrain has recalled its ambassador from Israel as tensions escalate due to Israel's war on Palestine. This move poses a challenge for countries in the region that have been working towards strengthening their ties with Israel. Following an earlier announcement from Bahrain's lower house of parliament, the government confirmed Thursday that its ambassador was being recalled. Israel's ambassador in Manama has already left. Bahrain's parliamentary body also says that economic relations with Israel have been severed. The news comes after demonstrators marched to the Israeli embassy in Bahrain. Activists called for a reversal of the normalization agreement. On the other hand, Israel insists that its ties with Bahrain remain, quote, stable. Jordan has also recalled its ambassador to Israel earlier in the week. The ongoing conflict in Gaza has also hindered progress towards a potential normalization deal between Israel and Saudi Arabia. In recent years, Bahrain, Sudan, Morocco, and the United Arab Emirates have normalized relations with Israel. The United States had been strongly advocating the normalization agreement, also known as the Abraham Accords. The U.S. describes the accords as a step towards a more peaceful Middle East. Critics argue that these accords allow Israel to benefit from greater cooperation without addressing its long-standing occupation of Palestinian territories. Schools in the United Kingdom are reporting students advocating for Palestinian rights through an anti-terrorism program. These actions have raised concerns about endangering children and stifling discussions on the Gaza conflict. Prevent, a UK counter-terrorism program, is aimed at identifying individuals at risk of radicalization. More than a third of Prevent referrals are children under 15, with a significant portion from Muslim or Asian backgrounds. Amnesty International has called for scrapping the Prevent system from schools. A report by Amnesty criticizes the program for violating freedom of expression, racial discrimination, and stigmatization of Muslims. Amnesty suggests replacing Prevent with greater investment in child protection and education. Many students in the UK have stopped voicing their opinions due to the fear of being labeled extremist or terrorist sympathizers. Palestinian activism has long been a subject of interest within Prevent and counterterrorism policing. leading to concerns about stifling freedom of speech. The UK government has been criticized for its stance on the Israel-Palestine conflict, with some accusing it of bias towards Israel. The debate over Prevent had been ongoing for years. Some argue it should be abolished, while others argue its importance in countering terrorism. Palestinian farmers in the West Bank are facing increasing violence and intimidation from Israeli Jewish settlers. In frequent attacks, Israeli settlers seize livestock, destroy agricultural equipment, and wreck olive groves vital for the livelihoods of Palestinian farmers. These settlers are armed with machine guns. They also beat up villagers, ransack homes, and confiscate valuables. Women, children, and the elderly are not spared from the violence. Since the onset of Israel's war, Israeli forces have killed more than 100 Palestinians in the West Bank. The attacks began on the sidewalks and curbs. Soon, they started to turn into military-style attacks by settlers in uniforms. Far-right Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir has distributed weapons to settlers. Palestinians in affected areas have been told to raise Israeli flags outside their homes or face repercussions. Israeli police responses have often been inadequate or dismissive. As a result of an increase in settler violence, many Palestinians are fleeing their homes. This is leading to the displacement of farmers, herders, and Bedouin tribes who have lived in the West Bank for centuries. While some refuse to leave their ancestral homes, threats to their children's safety is forcing them to reconsider. Thank you for watching. Our news is produced by Muslim Network TV, which is a not-for-profit organization. We need your support for donations. Please scan the QR code on our broadcast or visit muslimnetwork.tv to donate now, so we can continue to amplify the voices of Muslims in Canada and abroad.